So I have Carol with me, one of my clients that I've just wrapped up a year journey with. Thank you, Carol, for joining me today to share more about your journey.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, what I want to ask you first is what were you struggling with before you reached out to me?
Well, the biggest thing that I was struggling with was overeating, but I was also struggling with being in the moment and being okay with where I was at that moment instead of trying to, I wanted to be at, the finish line before I even started.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I pretty much struggled with, those two things.
And how did the overeating, how was that impacting you?
I think psychologically it was also impacting me, not only physically. I think it was more because I just felt like because I wasn't where I should have been, that I didn't deserve it. At least that's how I felt at the
Mhm.
time. I just I didn't like myself very much. So I think that food always gave me that comfort.
Yeah, makes sense. What drew you to reach out?
Um, It was actually my sister's friend who told her, and then she told me. And then that's how I reached out to you.
Yeah, so nice. And how did the support help you overcome the emotional eating, the overeating?
Well, it was great to have somebody to there, well, you there to help me give the tools that I needed to help me slow down and really think about, you know, what I was eating and why I was eating it and how it impacted me and, you know, physically and mentally, that was definitely key in helping me to move past where I was.
How does it feel to not use food to cope anymore?
Oh, I actually, it's almost like a weight lifted, even though, I still have my journey left to go. I still feel so much lighter, you know, mentally and physically.
And how does it feel to not crave sugar anymore? Because I know that was a key, what felt like a nemesis was the sugar cravings and the sugar addiction.
Yes, it's definitely good to be past that craving. I mean, like nothing worse than, always going into the store and I mean, I used to do cupcakes and funny bones and you know, chocolate milk with that. And it's nice to know that I'm past that. Not that I don't have sugar. I mean, I definitely occasionally have my sugar and it's just indifferent. Now it's more of a fresh fruit or sometimes um even in a sherbet, you know. But I don't crave it like I did before with cakes and cookies and chocolates and all that. At least not like I did.
And how does it feel to enjoy something like a sherbet or something sweet, but you're not going to it to cope? You're going to just enjoy it.
It definitely feels different. It's not that same like, because I don't feel guilty afterwards, which is nice. I enjoy it and then I move on. Before it was just like I ate it and then it was just like I ate all that sugar and then I felt guilty. I'm like, what did I do? I can't believe I did this again. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
I felt like I was always falling off the wagon.
Yeah, it's very tiring, isn't it?
Yes.
Mhm. And how did healing your relationship with food help with your physical health?
Repeat that again. I'm sorry.
How did healing your relationship with food help with your physical health?
Well, it definitely made it easier for me to fit into my clothes. My clothes feel better. I feel better. I'm not as tired anymore. Um, I don't swell as much anymore. It's a good feeling, I mean, nothing worse than coming home after 12-hour work day, and my feet are swelling, they're hurting, and now I don't feel that anymore.
Yeah. What does it feel like to not have that inflammation in your body anymore that was so significant when we started?
That is the biggest and best feel to me because I just felt so heavy when I had that inflammation that I don't feel that heaviness anymore.
Yeah, it's so important that we work on that inflammation. How has healing your relationship with food and your body helped with your mental health, your intuition, maybe?
Well, I definitely feel more clarity to thinking.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, especially with my job, I'm a nurse, so I have to always be thinking and always be on my game. I can't be at work like, feeling in like I'm in a fog all the time, it doesn't help my job. So I definitely feel the difference between when first starting and to now, and how easy it is for me to recall my information from nursing school.
Hmm. So your memory is better, it sounds
Yes,
like.
my memory is much better. Oh,
That's amazing. Moral support. And do you feel like this healing at all helped with heightening like your energy or your
oh,
spirit, like your intuition or like your connection with yourself?
yes, definitely. It helped me to, even when I meditate now, it's a lot easier to get there quicker, you know. When I first started, it was a struggle.
Yes.
Now, much easier,
Good.
you
So it's
know.
so it sounds like things are a lot easier for you since you've been doing this healing.
Yes, definitely a lot easier.
Good. I'm so glad. And how has this journey helped you build your self-worth?
I definitely feel so much more worthy. Like I know I deserve it. Even though like a part of me always knew I deserved it, but I didn't really feel it. Like
Mhm.
feel like I deserved it. Like I knew I deserved better, but I just felt like I don't know, I never gave it to myself. Like I know I should be thinking this way, but I didn't, kind
Mhm.
of thing. And now I just do it. Before I just thought about doing it. Now I actually do it and make myself worthy because I know that I am.
Yeah. And how does claiming your worth help you make sure you're making yourself a priority?
It made it easier for me to help other people when I know that I put myself in a better place. Um, so it just it's not something I have to think about anymore. It's just something that I do now. Where when I first started, it was something I actually had to think about doing instead of just doing,
Mhm.
you know. I like that feeling. I like feeling like, oh, I'm just doing, but it's just done now. It's not something like, well, I should do this for myself so that I can make myself feel better. Now it's just like, oh, let's do this.
Mhm. How does it feel that that's your natural state now?
I like that.
Yes.
It feels a lot more comfortable. It makes my day go a lot easier.
Yes, that's good. Are there any specific tools or things that were brought into your sessions that you feel were really beneficial on the
I
journey?
love the tapping. Tapping is definitely a way of trying to get that negative, feel out of you, and really just help you change your thought process.
Yeah,
I like the tapping.
good.
And it's quick and it's easy.
Yeah.
It's not something that takes a long time, it's a few minutes,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about the weight loss journey because of course when we started we talked about how this is a healing journey and a side effect is as your body feels safe, you're going to start to let go of weight and that's been happening. And how does it feel to know that you're not using diets and restriction and yo-yoing and then falling back into emotional eating and having that vicious cycle hinder, right? The safety piece.
It feels it feels right. It feels like it, like I did a long time ago when I was more of a priority, like when I was a kid in school, and I always put myself first because, of course, we were selfish back then. So if I could have stayed more selfish, maybe maybe I wouldn't be where I am right now. But I, if I would have thought about myself more like I did when I was younger. And that's how I kind of feel again. I feel like that's back, like, oh, like that, oh, I'm thinking about myself and,
Mhm.
and then I can help somebody else after I'm done.
Yeah. And did you think that you would see your body shift this way without having to restrict or diet based on your
I
past history?
I didn't I didn't even think I was shifting. It wasn't until I actually saw the pictures because
Yeah.
I felt like, I didn't get as far as I wanted. I can't, I wanted to be a lot further along. But then when I actually looked at the pictures, I couldn't believe the difference. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I really did come that far. You
Yeah.
know, it just, I guess because seeing it every day a little bit, you don't notice it as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like other people notice, like my friend who hadn't seen, she's like, oh my God, you look great,
Yeah.
and it's like, and I had to kind of tell myself, like and be okay with where I am right now.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for those pictures, so I definitely recommend people taking pictures and keeping those pictures and maybe taking a picture maybe once every 2 weeks or something, just so that they can see the difference. Because I definitely feel that you don't always see it with your eye. Like you
Mhm.
feel like, oh, nothing's happening when it really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because we see ourselves 24/7, right?
Yes,
And I think too, like you said earlier, you want it all to happen so fast. We have to be patient and
yes,
enjoy the journey, like you were saying,
yes,
because you have this for life now and you have so much time for your body to just finish shifting what she needs to shift. And now you have the lifestyle changes to just have that forever, right? Which I think is priceless. So
yes.
yeah. So why would you recommend this support?
I recommend the support because you need that somebody to help point out what you don't always see, you know, or give you different ways of approaching something, like, sometimes there's so many different ways of approaching something. And sometimes what you're doing is not working, but it's always nice to have that other person's opinion to try something a different way, but get you to the same point. You need that support, and it's always good to have support because sometimes people don't have anybody else,
Hmm.
and you need somebody else. You
Yeah.
need somebody who's going to be behind you and call you out when you need
Yeah.
to be called out. You know,
Yeah. That loving accountability is really important to help us shift, right?
yes,
How
it's
did
not
that
fun, but it's needed.
and how did that help you when you were like when your negative self-talk or the emotional eating habits were coming strong? How would that loving accountability and being called out help you to shift?
It helped me to shift because it helped me to realize that this is part of the journey.
Hmm.
Like in order for me to learn and educate myself, I have to make the mistakes. If I don't
Yeah.
make the mistakes, I can't learn.
Yeah.
So that's what helped me move on. And just learning from somebody else who made those mistakes and help pointing those mistakes out helped me to be able to move on.
Yes. Amazing. Is there anything
People don't realize that making mistakes is part of life. And if you don't make those mistakes, you're never going to learn.
well said? It's so true. Yeah. And they teach us just like how your triggers every time would teach you something new, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. You see something different.
Yeah.
It's just like any job. Like if you do something a certain way and it didn't really work, you're like, okay, I'm not doing that one again. And that's how you learn. Okay, now I'll try it a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Is there anything else you want to share?
uh I would just definitely point to people to make sure that they try and journal if they can, and definitely take pictures. And even if you don't organize it until afterwards or later, I definitely do it. I definitely think writing those things down and taking pictures along the way, even though you dread taking those pictures along the way, you'll be grateful for those pictures later.
Yeah. And we build the self love along the way. So it's
Yes.
okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Carol. And it was truly a pleasure to support you on your journey. I'm so proud of you and I was so
Thank you.
honored to witness you for the last year. You're welcome. So thank you everyone for joining us for this. And here's another success story to food and body freedom.